item 4, which is public comments. This is the first of 2 opportunities tonight for public comment. This is the time to address the City Council on any matter that is not listed on this agenda, but is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the City Council. Public comments for each individual are limited to 3 minutes per person, and there is a time limit of 15 minutes for this segment of the public comments portion of this agenda. When we get to 15 minutes, we'll save any other speakers that we haven't gotten to and have them recite their comments to us at the second public comment section on our agenda. So, first off, council colleagues, we did receive 1 e-comment. You should have it in front of you, from Leanna Bowie, and she sent a message referring to and asking some questions regarding business vacancies within the city of Rancho Santa Margarita. Okay, so we'll begin with our live speakers, and I'll call forward first up tonight, Jacqueline Martin. Good evening, welcome.
Hi. I couldn't make it to the last city council meeting, so I had to play back the audio a couple of times to be sure I hadn't misheard Mayor Beal saying that he fully supports what ICE is doing and proudly pledges his full cooperation if they come to our city. It occurred to me that you may not be aware of what it is they're doing exactly, or maybe you don't care to know what's going on. So I wanted to go over what it is you're pledging to support. You are supporting the extrajudicial killing of 2 observers, neither of whom posed an active threat, despite DAH's lies, because we can all see what happened on the live video of those incidents. You're supporting warrantless ICE agents kicking in an old man's door and dragging him out into the snow while he's wearing nothing but boxer shorts and Crocs and a blanket. That man was a legal U.S. resident. You're supporting a disabled woman, a U.S. citizen, having her window smashed, her seatbelt cut, and being dragged from her car, and assaulted so badly that she ended up in the ER after being held in detainment for hours. You're supporting families, again U.S. citizens, being pepper sprayed in their vehicles while they try to buy groceries. You're supporting local law enforcement officers off duty being harassed and detained by ICE agents because I guess those agents just didn't think those people looked American enough. You are supporting children being snatched off the streets, used as bait, and kept in concentration camps. They call them detainment facilities because we like using alternative words to make things seem better than they are. But there are children in this country being held in concentration camps, being given rotten food and tainted water. They are getting sick and they are being traumatized. This is what you have pledged that you fully support, that you would proudly welcome to our city. All of these things happen to people who are either citizens or legal residents of this country, people with legal documentation. So why do you think that these actions, these lawless actions by ICE officers wouldn't affect you or someone you care about in our city? Clearly you don't care if the citizens or residents you're supposed to represent feel safe or welcome here. My neighbors are from everywhere. They are people whose ancestors come from the Americas, from Europe, from Africa, and from Asia. My neighbors include immigrants from Taiwan, India, Egypt, Mexico, Honduras, Germany, Canada, and Iran. And all of them deserve to feel safe in this community. People are suffering harm. They are dying in the streets and in these facilities. No one, whether they're a citizen, legally documented, or overstayed their visa, deserves to be treated this way. These ICE agents are not upholding the law. They are violating our constitutional rights. And I genuinely think the concept of shame is lost on you, but I will repeat it nonetheless. As someone who claims to be Christian, you should be ashamed of yourself, and we are ashamed that you represent our city.
Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate your comments. Next up is Leanne Boyle. evening, ma'am. Welcome.
Brought myself a timer to help everybody out. So at the last city council meeting, Mayor Tony Beal said he proudly supports ICE operating in our city and suggested protesters should stay out of law enforcement's way, effectively blaming citizens for any harm they suffer. He said this after I requested a moment of silence for Renee Good, who was shot in the face by ICE agents as she drove away. The mayor previously made a public show of honoring Charlie Kirk, a figure who has justified violence against LGBTQ people, praised Nazis, and said the Second Amendment is worth the deaths of children. This is the leadership we're being offered: silence for a woman shot by federal agents and reverence for those who glorify violence. And now he says he would proudly invite ICE into our city, despite residents' very real fear of what that violence brings. Jackie mentioned a lot of folks, but there are more. A 17-year-old child was kidnapped from his job and dropped 8 miles away once they finally realized he was a U.S. citizen. Tony supports this proudly. Another teenager in Santa Ana was shot with a rubber bullet and now he is blind. Tony supports this proudly. Geraldo Lunes Campos died in a concentration camp. He was asking for his medication and the guards held him down until he suffocated. Trump then deported the witnesses to the murder. This is what our mayor said he would welcome into RSM proudly. Deaths of those in custody by ICE is the highest in 20 years, and there have been 31 deaths in ICE camps and detainment just in the first 2 weeks of January. Tony supports this proudly. Recently, agents pushed a woman off her bike and threw a man to the ground and sprayed chemical irritant into his face at point-blank range. Tony, it seems your sympathies lie with specific demographics. Just so you know, both of those people were white U.S. citizens. Liam Ramos, among other children, have been taken to concentration camps by ICE when they are on their way home from school. There are hundreds of children in these detention centers. Tony supports this proudly. Did you know that the leader of Border Protection, Greg Bovino, actually threw tear gas at protesters who were standing by peacefully? Tony, remember when you said to not get in the way? These people were following your own guidelines and were violently assaulted. ICE is now breaking into homes without warrants, a violation of the Constitution. I direct this to every council member here. Which do you support, the Constitution or the violation of it? And I want to read you something that someone else once wrote. Quote, terrible things are happening outside. Poor helpless people are being dragged out of their homes. Families are torn apart. Men, women, and children are separated. Children come home from school to find that their parents have disappeared. That is from Anne Frank in 1943, but surely sounds like right now. Yeah. So what side do you want, council? Does Mayor Tony Beal speak for all of you when he says that he supports ICE actions proudly and would welcome the same violence in our own city? Because your silence speaks just as loudly as his words.
Thank you for your comments. Next up is Jamie Blunt. Good evening, Jamie. Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Jamie. I'm an American historian. People will say this isn't America, but it is precisely American. Enslaved people lived in concentration camps where for many it was also a death camp. Whenever they left, they had to show their papers. They were treated as inhuman. After the Fugitive Slave Act was passed, ordinary citizens had to arrest anyone without proper paperwork. Many times, if they had paperwork, it was disregarded. People created an underground railroad to hide people and lead them to safety. The Know Nothing Party from the 1850s is where we get our today immigrant rhetoric. They claimed that Catholics and Southern Europeans could never assimilate. They brought disease, they were lazy, refused to work, but also at the same time were taking their jobs. In the 1930s, the United States government deported over 1 million Mexican and Native born Americans to Mexico with no due process. What is happening today is our history. People will try to get you to have sympathy, empathy, and reach your moral compass. They will show you pictures of Leo Liam and his bunny hat. They will tell you stories of mothers and fathers being ripped away from their families. People being sexually abused, assaulted, starved, and killed in cages. But I know that will not impact you whatsoever because you do not see us as people. You see us as enemies that need to be destroyed and taken away from this country so that you can have your white nationalist policies. I'm here to tell you that we will not be erased. I want the same things for me that I want for you. You see, I want you to have universal health care so you do not go in debt when you're sick. I want you to have a living wage so you cannot just survive, but thrive. I want you to have a house that you can afford and not be in debt over. See, unlike you, I do not believe in hierarchies. I want to create an equal society where we can all thrive. I'm here today not to appeal to your moral compass because you have none. But I know that I can go after your legacy because you have a big ego. And as a historian, I can tell you're not on the right side of history. You're on the side of the slave catchers and the Gestapo that was inspired by the genocide of Native Americans and the Jim Crow laws. Today, we have concentration camps just like those that Native Americans and Japanese people were placed in. This is our history, but it doesn't have to be our future. You can change that. You have the power to change it. But if you don't, we will. Yeah, we will.
Thanks for your comment. Next up is Lee Buck.
Show a little compassion, your face is not showing.
Psychopaths don't know how to do that.
Good evening, welcome.
I don't feel welcome, thank you. Good evening, City Council members and staff. In July of last year at the Santa Ana Federal Immigration Courthouse, a woman begged the court to keep her family together. She spoke about how her husband and his brother had both been killed by gangs in her own country. She had her teenage son lift up his shirt to show the puckered scar where he too had been shot. She stood there with her 3 children and through a translator said the following: I have paid all my taxes. I have never broken a law, not even a traffic ticket. I work 2 full-time jobs. Please do not take my family from me. 10 minutes later, the DHS moved to dismiss her case. 2 ICE agents grabbed her teenage sons and dragged them off into a white, unmarked van idling at the back entrance to the courthouse. The heartbroken mother and her single remaining child were so overcome with grief they could only sit and wail. Milagro Solis Portillo was a woman living in LA County when she was abducted by masked men from her home. During this abduction, she was injured, had a panic attack, vomited all over herself, and collapsed unconscious. She was left in handcuffs for over 8 hours before finally being taken to a hospital. When her family attempted to see her in her hospital room, they were denied access, but the ICE agents who abducted her received full visitation rights. When the family and their legal counsel became a bit too loud in their demands to see Milagro, she was abducted once again in the early morning and transferred to a hospital in Anaheim. 2 days later, she was gone. These are just 2 stories in a tapestry of state-sanctioned violence and terrorism. Vacant homes, idle cars being towed away, abandoned lawnmowers and fruit stands, children without parents, parents without children, empty places where human beings should be. If you stand with ICE, you stand for fascism. You stand for authoritarian and xenophobia. You reveal your pathetic fear of Black and brown people in this country. I stand with my community in demanding the following. Mayor Beal, retract your disgusting statement immediately. Better yet, do all of Rancho Santa Margarita a favor and step down. Your silence around the mayor's statement is deafening. End your complicity and hold him to account for his comments.
Stand up.
Thank you so much, Steve. Next up, James Ward. Good evening, sir. Welcome.
My name is James Ward, and I've been a resident of Rancho Santa Margarita for over 25 years. And I was shocked recently to learn that our mayor at a city council meeting had expressed his support and wants to give full cooperation to ICE. It is unbelievable that he would show so much disrespect for the residents of Rancho Santa Margarita and the neighboring cities in all of Orange County. For more than a year now, ICE has been acting like a terrorist organization in a third world country. And I hope that is not what we are becoming. And ICE is mistreating everyone. not just foreign-born residents or people who look foreign-born even, anybody that even stands up for them and speaks for them and tries to help is getting mistreated.
Fascism.
To me, it is disgusting, and I hope we can put a stop to it.
Next up is Debbie Resnick.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I have been compelled to speak here tonight after hearing that our mayor has previously stated that he would welcome ICE into our community and that no other member of this council denounced this statement. My name is Debbie Resnick, and I stand here tonight not just as a resident, but as someone who loves this community fiercely and refuses to stay silent when fear threatens to replace trust. Our city has consistently ranked among the safest in California, often number one. That didn't happen because people were afraid of their neighbors. It happened because we built something special here, a community where people look out for one another, where families feel safe calling for help, and where residents trust their local leaders to protect them, all of them. Yep. We are the best of California. Our neighbors come from different races, cultures, native languages, and immigration stories. They are parents, veterans, students, business owners, teachers, and essential workers. They coach our kids, volunteer in our schools, and keep our local economy alive. They are not outsiders, they are us. When immigration enforcement enters local neighborhoods, fear spreads fast. People stop reporting crimes, parents become afraid to take their children to school, victims stay silent. That does not make us safer, it makes us all more vulnerable. This city's strength has always come from unity, compassion, and common sense. Residents expect leadership that reflects the whole community. Leadership that protects public safety without creating fear or division.
Pay attention to her.
Tonight, I'm asking you to choose courage. Choose the policies that keep families together,
Tony, look up.
neighborhoods
Look at her.
stable, and trust intact.
Coward.
Choose the values that made us one of the safest cities in California in the first place.
They're all cowards.
Stand up for every resident who calls this city home. Protect our community, protect our safety, and protect our humanity. Thank you.
So thank you to all our public speakers who have shared their opinions with us tonight so far. We've now exceeded the 15-minute segment, and the rest of the public comments will hear them in their entirety at the end of our agenda tonight. So we're going to move on. We're now at item 5 on the agenda, which is our consent calendar. All matters on the consent calendar are to be approved in one motion, unless a council member, member of the staff, or member of the public requests separate action on any specific item on the consent calendar. Do we need to pull any items tonight from the consent calendar?
Mr. Mayor, staff would like to pull item number 5.10 to correct a clerical error. That we'll bring that back at the next meeting. Thank you.
Okay. Any others? All right, seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar in its totality with the exception of 5.10. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. That motion carries unanimously. And 5.10, Ms. City Manager, we're just gonna, we'll pull it back for another day. Do we need any other action on that? Okay, thank you. Item 6 is public hearing items. Tonight we have none. And so we're now at item 7, which is new business. 7.1, citywide street sweeping and parking restriction review. Mr. Parco, good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, members of City Council. Item 7.1 before you tonight is the consideration of a parking restriction during street sweeping activities. By way of overview, the city's street sweeping operation is an essential city maintenance service. Street sweeping operations maintains the functionality of the city's streets and storm drains. It maintains ride quality in our streets, maintains the aesthetics of the roadway template, and importantly, the city's street sweeping operation is required as part of the NPDS permit, the city's NPDS permit. Street sweeping is also required to ensure general plan conformance with its circulation, safety, and water quality elements. The city's street sweeping contractor, CR&R, removes approximately 300 tons of debris from the city's roadways on an annual basis. As I previously mentioned, by way of policy, the city's street sweeping operation is required as part of the NPDS permit. The federal government recognized street sweeping as a best management practice. Street sweeping prevents trash, sediment, oils, and organic materials from entering the storm drain. Failure to provide street sweeping operations could result in potential fines enforced by the State Water Quality Control Board. By policy, sweeping activities must also be performed to stay consistent with the city's general plan goals and policies. Street sweeping maintains the city's circulation system, it removes pollutants from streets, protects the community from flood hazards, protects waterways, and maintains the aesthetic quality of our streets. So to provide a background, a little history, City Council as well as the Planning Commission has previously reviewed proposed parking restrictions during street sweeping activities. On December 6, 2017, staff presented an on-street parking workshop to the Planning Commission. As a result of the workshop, staff brought forth a street sweeping parking restriction item to City Council on January 10, 2018. At the April 25th, 2018 council meeting, City Council reviewed and discussed the item a second time. November 14th, 2018, City Council authorized staff to draft a parking restriction resolution. And on February 13th, 2019, Council approved that resolution for no parking for street sweeping purposes. And finally, on April 16th, 2019, restricted parking went into effect for the 14 segments that are currently restricted during street sweeping operations today. So with that background, I'm going to now turn the presentation over to our city's environmental coordinator and employee of the year, Andrea Hohanasian, to go into more detail. Thanks, Andrea.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council again. I'm here to talk about my favorite non-structural BMP, or best management practice, which is street sweeping. The city currently provides street sweeping to approximately 181 curb miles. Arterials, which are major streets through the city, such as Santa Margarita Parkway and Antonio, are swept weekly, while residential streets are swept twice or once a month, depending on the season. Thank you for calling that out, Councilmember Barrett. Of these streets, 14 segments, comprised of 20 streets, are currently posted on street sweeping service days as shown on the map above. As you heard from my director, a lot of thought and time was put into the original pilot program. I wanted to provide these photos to showcase the effect that the original posted streets have had on the effectiveness of street sweeping. It is also important to note this street here, shown Arroyo Vista, has always been swept weekly. This photo on the left was taken before the program went into effect. The amount of cars parked and never moved during service hours, paired with mature trees and occasional Santa Ana winds, created nightmare conditions for the sweeper to handle. The two photos on the right are also of Arroyo Vista from just this month. The first is nearly the same spot from what the first picture showed, and the other photo shows a vehicle left during the citation run and you can see the debris that is left behind is apparent. And again, this is a street that is swept weekly, so if you have multiple cars stuck here, you'll see it pile up quite frequently. Slide. So this is showing the impact on street sweeping, parking during street sweeping activities. Any parked car will conflict with the essential maintenance service. As from the previous photos, as well as these currently on the slide, it is not just the length of the car that gets missed. Additionally, it is not only landscape and leaf debris that is left behind, but parked cars tend to accumulate trash either by pooling or due to vehicles dumping garbage from their car doors, which it might be a little difficult to see, but that picture on the left does have trash outlined in red that is left there. The next slide, The next slide shows all the complaints that came through. So these are complaints from the residents over the past year, which were logged and assessed by staff as well as the street sweeping vendor. Above are each of the 47 logged streets, some of which have had multiple complaints. The top 17 streets were given a priority based on debris accumulation and what was observed during regular street sweeping operations. And those two photos over there show some of the priority streets. The top is Florecita and the one below is Las de Paz. This map shows not only the currently posted streets, which are in the various colors, but also the locations of the 17 segments given priority and put forth for consideration. Higher priority are in red and the lower priority are in pink. 3 of the high priority streets were presented during the original pilot program in 2017. These were originally priority 2 streets at that time. These streets are Joshua Drive, which is number 7, Via Con Dios, which is 10, and Via Ladera, which is 11. This is other thoughts to consider. So though I look at street sweeping from the lens of water quality and environmental benefits, it is important to note that there are ancillary benefits to posted streets. This includes identifying abandoned vehicles. And we see that in other cities, this is being highly utilized. Posted streets are not uncommon throughout Orange County. At least 28 cities have some form of posted streets for street sweeping days, some of which are citywide. This is noted as an effective tool countywide. We do try to implement outreach efforts. It's a huge part of what I do under water quality and solid waste. Outreach efforts continue to be a major component. Like with many environmental items, a single person's actions and our cumulative feeling of responsibility helps to move goals forward. The city website has the street sweeping maps and the 2026 calendars posted for service days for easy access. It is heavily encouraged that vehicles be moved on these days, whether they are identified on this report or not. When encouragement is not enough, citation measures like this need consideration to make street sweeping effective and keep the city safe and beautiful. This concludes the presentation. At this time, it is the 11 priority streets that are being put forward for council's direction. There would be costs associated with adding these streets through the purchase of the signs, as well as the labor costs to adding curb miles, doing the sign installation, and in code enforcement's additional time. Alternatives to this is to keep it status quo, as we already have a pilot program in place for the 14 segments, or we can reevaluate the streets that have been put forward. Thank you for your time, and I will be here for any questions.
Thank you for that presentation. Council colleagues, I want to call your attention to an e-comment that we received from Paul Georgie with respect to this item. He's asking us to consider adding Rancho Trabuco to the no parking list here.
If I can make a comment on that, I'm so sorry, that one is actually already part of the segments, so.
Thank you.
Of course.
I'm sure he's going to be pleased to hear that. At this time, council colleagues, this would be the time to ask any questions of our staff. Any questions to my left? Councilmember Holloway.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And thank you for this report. It's very detailed. I remember when we had the discussion about this a number of years ago, there was a lot of public input because it affects kind of everyone that's here, and everyone sees the issues with the streets and the efforts to try to meet the regulatory requirements. And that's really what this was about, because we, I don't necessarily safe to say that we weren't meeting the regulatory requirements at the time, But could you, Jennifer, give a little bit of history on what prompted this program back then?
Certainly. So it really was prompted by the fact that street sweeping is a best management practice to ensure that particles and debris is not making its way into the storm drains and into the oceans. And we are required under a permit through the San Diego Regional Board to ensure that particulates and this debris is not going into the ocean. So street sweeping is a best management practice, as Ms. Halbanesian has indicated. It is something that's used not just countywide, but statewide as well. And if we were to be in violation, if the regional board were to determine that some debris was making its way through our storm drains into the ocean, then we would be subject to potentially hefty fines, daily fines, monthly fines, for every period of time that we are not in compliance. And this is the best way to ensure that compliance. When you have cars that are parked, then it is more difficult over a longer period of time to be able to achieve and maintain that compliance.
Would you say this report is in reference to increasing the efforts to maintain the level that we've achieved? And if we don't continue with this, we might go back to the issues that we had initially?
That's correct. So, you know, many cities do the entire city. We've tried to take a measured, incremental approach to that and really only address the streets that, if it's posted no parking on street sweeping days, that it's actually going to make a difference in the water quality that we're achieving. So back when we looked at this in 2017 and 2018, there were, I want to say, about 27 segments total that we looked at, and we did break them down to priority, and the priority is determined by the length of that street and the amount of debris that accumulates on a regular basis. And so taking just those that were going to make, if you will, the biggest bang for your buck, that's what we did back in 2017, 2018. And now we're finding that just due to, you know, we've had windstorms, we've had rainstorms, we had a really bad wind event, I think about a year ago, and that coupled with just the on-street parking that doesn't seem to subside, it is creating a condition that we feel it's necessary at this time to recommend additional streets into that to be able to achieve and maintain our water quality standards.
In this outstanding report, there was some reference to citations that were issued during this time period. And part of it was the number of vehicles that continue to get cited despite the, you know, we don't increase the fees for violations. Is it your feeling that how much of a problem is it causing for those that continue to park and they don't move their cars like most other people do? Is that creating a substantial problem, which would prompt us to discuss maybe enhancing the fees or the fines? Or do you think that's a small part of the problem, that increasing fees wouldn't really make a difference?
I think a lot of those reports do show that with education and with people getting their first citation, they become, you know, in compliance, they don't show up again on our list. There are the reoccurrence. We saw some hit 11 in 1 year. You know, do they make a significant impact? The answer is yes. One person does make a significant impact, at least a vehicle wide plus some, so we're saying around 40 feet is missed. That's something that we could look at as consideration, is to up that fee, but that's something that we could be given direction to when looking at these additional streets.
Okay. And lastly, I do support the mention here of looking to add possibly a part-time code enforcement, because we certainly want to be able to meet these standards, and if you deem that we need more personnel to do that, to enforce the codes that we have, I'm all for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember McGurk.
Thank you. Following up on what Councilmember Holloway just referenced, the citations, I noticed on page 3 of the agenda, for the most part, each of the streets, the number of citations have dropped annually. The only jump seems to be in 23-24. I'm not exactly sure why it jumped up as high as it did at that point in time. But what I'm wondering is, with regard to the steady decrease in the number of citations, is that because there's less enforcement? Or is it because, if you know, less enforcement or because there are fewer violators?
I think that that can be a combination. There are definitely fewer violators. However, you know, if code enforcement's time is taken by a higher priority matter, they're not able to meet the street sweeper out there and check on the vehicles. But, you know, street sweeping and the tonnage and parked cars is such a hard data point to understand why and how, because you're talking about different residences and their practices. But yes, to answer your question, yes, sometimes code enforcement's time is taken away to do priority matters.
You stole my next question. Are there times when there's not enforcement available? Obviously, the answer is yes.
Yes, and we also do not do any enforcement on holiday weeks, so that does change it if it happens to be a highly posted week and we have a holiday, we're not going to cite.
Okay. Is there an answer as to why the numbers jumped in 23, 24? Do you know? Or, I mean, it jumps, just for the sake of discussion, as to anybody who doesn't hold a copy of this. In 2021 is 948. In 21-22 is 786. In 22-23 it's 635. So it's a steady. I mean, it's almost a third off the first number, and then it jumps up to 801, then jumps down to 659. I'm just kind of confused as to if you know. Yeah, there may not be a good answer, but I was just wondering if there is an answer.
Not something that I'd be able to speak to at this moment. I'm sure I have to look into it further to try to understand why that is, but could just be, you know, people aren't understanding or they're not using our website. I always encourage people, please look at our website. It shows the posted segments. We have calendars specifically showing when those are done by their date.
I'm wondering maybe it's also weather. You know, if it's more debris because of stronger storm system or whatever. I don't know the answer either, but it's kind of pointed out.
Oh, you're asking for the jump in debris, not in citations?
No, I was talking about citations.
Oh, understood.
But, I haven't looked as to whether there was a jump in debris, but yeah, I was thinking about the citations. Thank you.
Of course.
To my right, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Andrea. On those high citation streets, and there's about 4 of them that jump out, have we considered putting additional signage on those particular streets just to get the numbers down?
One of the items brought up when this was last talked about at the posted street sweeping was we didn't want to create any sign blight. So we're trying to work in the realm of what's enforceable by traffic code, but also not put up additional signs that just blight our city. So again, it's something that could be considered, but knowing that on the other end, it is trying not to oversaturate the city in signs.
Okay. And then, so the total cost for these new areas that we're considering tonight is basically only $1,000 a year, correct? Plus the signage costs.
No, so we haven't fully looked at and we would want to work with our traffic engineer on how many signs we would need, because it would be a pretty substantial cost in just getting the signs ordered and installing them. And then there would be a slight increase to the street sweeping curb miles, just because these would be set at a twice monthly instead of going down to a once monthly sweep for the residential side. But there would also be the cost of the additional code enforcement. So that hasn't been fully presented to you, and it's something that we could do if you want us to take that direction.
And then also just thank you for waiting to cite people on these new areas. I think we're going to wait a couple months, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilmember Beer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, Andrea, thank you for this report. I found it very interesting. One of the things that you talked about, or was talked about, was one of the reasons for doing the street sweeping is the removal of medical particles and other hazardous waste products left by motor vehicles that can get into our waste managed water system. And these particles can be extremely harmful to fish and other wildlife. So I don't think that that's things that people really understand, the importance of why we are street sweeping. So I just wanted to call attention to that. And then you mentioned that the streets that we are considering, the top 11, I think high priority, how you selected those as high priority had to do with the missed annual pounds that were that the street sweepers couldn't pick up. Is that one of the ways that you identified those?
Yes, that's correct. We kind of looked at how much we're missing, what percentage of the street we're missing that we are giving in curb miles, and then we took our annual average and said, well, what does that mean if we're missing 1 curb mile, 2 curb miles? So that's how we looked at that, and we're able to present which ones we thought would impact the most.
Okay, and it also encompasses the complaints that were filed from people that were noticing that these streets, the cars aren't being moved, debris is piling up, and they also wanted to see items being moved. Okay. I think that's all the questions I have. I just wanted to thank you. I've gotten comments from members of the community on this, and they are looking forward to seeing these implemented. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. Ms. City Clerk, do we have any requests to speak from the public on this item?
We have none.
Okay, so the staff's recommendation is to receive and file this report, give direction to staff to draft a resolution to add designated streets to the street sweeping pilot program, provide any other feedback is appropriate. Do you need a motion, first of all, in order to receive and file? Okay. Is there any comments, suggested changes? I'm just looking for head nods. Okay, I think we're going to just receive and file this and proceed accordingly. Thank you for that great presentation, Andrea. Brings us on our agenda to item 8, continued items. Tonight we have none, so we're now back to public comments. This is the last opportunity tonight to address the City Council on any matter not listed on the agenda, but that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the city. And public comments are limited to 3 minutes per person. This segment of the public comments portion is also not to exceed 15 minutes, but I expect we will exceed that tonight, and we'll be happy to hear from all of our guests. So I'm going to call forth next, Raquel Nava.
Thank you.
Okay. Everardo Nava. Grace Adams. Good evening, Grace. Welcome.
Good evening, everybody. Hi, everybody. My name is Grace. I'm a resident of RSM, and I wanted to take a couple minutes to address the statement made by the mayor concerning ICE and the lack of correction from City Council. The statement made about ICE from mayor only really invoked fear and a sense of instability within the community. As an elected official, I think you've gotten a little too comfortable in saying whatever your feelings guide you to say and not consider the needs and expectations your constituents have for you. You are held to a higher standard because of your elected position, and your statement has proven to be a sign of poor character and poor judgment. You have been voted in by both parties, and you should remain apolitical on these topics. When you say such things, such as you'd be proud to have ICE come here, I think it exposes some inconsistencies with some logic. If we have raids here like we have seen in North County, they will target landscape workers, day laborers, and car wash employees. This city and many HOAs spends millions of dollars a year on subcontracting out landscaping maintenance. Did you ever think if ICE came here to do raids, how it would directly impact this city's economy and how it does business? If people don't show up for work, the work will not be done, period. These HOAs and the city will take a direct hit by the reduction of labor within the market. Projects will be delayed, costs will incur, and this could be avoided if we just simply don't say certain things. People will be less willing to leave their houses, and people will be less willing to buy certain goods and services, and therefore it causes a deadweight loss within the service market. City Council, I would encourage you to speak up and to not stay silent when these things are said that could directly impact our community. Do you represent everyone in this community? Or are you only representing the ones you like, or the ones that you feel are worth serving?
Right.
I want you to remind you of the story of the Apostle Paul and how he served everyone, not just the ones he liked. You are all elected officials, and you are here as means of creating balance when intentions become biased, unfair, and unchecked. Your silence on this statement shows a deep deficit in the system and your character. If you wanted to say something and you were scared to do so, that is a sign that this is an imbalance of power. This power has become overreaching, and there's no guardrails in place. You all should have done better. You are adults. I don't think you will change. However, I will continue to pray that God opens your eyes and reminds you that your positions of power are for service and are not for provoking fear and division. Thank you.
Next up is Chris. Good evening, Chris. Welcome.
Good evening, City Council. Happy Black History Month. It looks like you forgot to celebrate, so I'm going to do a little bit of commemoration for all of us. Regarding your enthusiastic support for federal law enforcement, and particularly the brutal, unconstitutional tactics from the Immigration and Custom Enforcement agents. We should never forget that everything Adolf Hitler did in Germany was legal, and everything the Hungarian freedom fighters did in Hungary was illegal. It was illegal to aid and comfort a Jew in Hitler's Germany. Even so, I am sure that, had I lived in Germany at the time, I would have aided and comforted my Jewish brothers. If I lived today in a communist country where certain principles dear to the Christian faith are suppressed, I would openly advocate disobeying that country's anti-religious laws. I must make two honest confessions to you, my Christian and Jewish brothers. First, I must confess that over the past few years, I have been gravely disappointed with the white moderate. I have almost reached the regrettable conclusion that the Negro's great stumbling block in his stride toward freedom is not the white citizens counselor or the Ku Klux Klaner, but the white moderate, who is more devoted to order than to justice, who prefers a negative peace, which is the absence of tension, to a positive peace, which is the presence of justice, who constantly says, I agree with you in the goal you seek, but I cannot agree with your methods of direct action, who paternalistically believes he can set the timetable for another man's freedom, who lives by a mythical concept of time, and who constantly advises the Negro to wait for a more convenient season. Shallow understanding from people of goodwill is more frustrating than absolute misunderstanding from people of ill will. Lukewarm acceptance is much more bewildering than outright rejection. I had hoped that the white moderate would understand that law and order exist for the purpose of establishing justice, and that when they fail in this purpose, they become the dangerously structured dams that block the flow of social progress. I had hoped that the white moderate would understand that the present tension in the South is a necessary phase of the transition from an obnoxious negative peace, in which the Negro passively accepted his unjust plight, to a substantive and positive peace, in which all men will respect the dignity and worth of human personality. Actually, we who engage in nonviolent direct action are not the creators of tension. We merely bring to the surface the hidden tension that is already alive. We bring it out in the open where it can be seen and dealt with. Like a boil that can never be cured so long as it is covered up, but must be opened with all its ugliness to the natural medicines of air and light. Injustice must be exposed with all the tension its exposure creates to the light of human conscience in the air of national opinion before it can be cured. That was Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. in 1963, writing from a Birmingham city jail to his fellow clergymen. How did he know 63 years later, in 2026, the Rancho Santa Margarita City Council would still need a reminder to not act like a bunch of cowardly, boot-licking white moderates who are in danger of ending up on the wrong side of history?
Kathy Palmer. Good evening, Kathy. Welcome.
Hi, my name is Kathy Palmer, and I'm a resident of your neighbor city to the west, Mission Viejo. And I came here tonight because I want to brag on my city by letting the residents of RSM know that the Mission Viejo mayor has publicly stated that our city will honor the sanctuaries, our California sanctuary state laws and obligations, and that our police chief has pledged to do the same. Last night, passed a resolution to create and include accurate, nonpartisan information on immigration laws and regulations. And this came from a council that can hardly be called or hardly be seen as a bastion of wokeness. You've heard a lot of stories, heart-rending stories. I shared my own last night. I live next door to a 3-generation Hispanic white family, all of whom are here legally. The married couple and their daughter are American citizens. The grandparents, who are here with green cards, are afraid to be in public places because their skin color and their language might make them a target for an immigration raid. So I think this is all to say that it's important to understand that it's not just criminals who are being targeted right now. These indiscriminate raids have targeted and swept up upstanding members of our own communities, some of whom might just be your next door neighbor. Another note, the rest of the world is looking at this human rights issue that is happening in our country with concern right now. I'll remind you that Mission Viejo has invited various countries to train in our community for the 2028 Olympics. Wow. Something that RSM should keep in mind from an economic and optics point of view, even if you're somehow not able to get there from a moral and ethical standpoint. These athletes and their families will be spending significant amounts of money and time in our communities as they train to compete. It would be really unfortunate if they had to be warned to avoid RSM due to its mayor's support of aggressive immigration enforcement. And for any residents who are looking to relocate to a community that is safe, provides great educational and recreational opportunities for families, including support for after-school programs, our Planning and Transportation Commission just approved a large new rental community, which you are all encouraged to investigate. Thank you.
Good evening, Kate. Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. My name is Kate, and I'm an ordained minister and a full-time hospice chaplain. I'm here in response to the Mayor's comments about welcoming ICE, and I'm concerned because the way that ICE treats people is a moral issue. ICE runs violent kidnapping operations. ICE terrorizes people. ICE makes children afraid to go to school. ICE uses chemical weapons that are banned in warfare under international law. ICE kills innocent people. ICE dehumanizes people. And as a faith leader, I appeal to your sense of conscience. All religions teach us to care about others. In Christianity in particular, the gospel is not about the protection of institutions, but is good news to the poor and liberation for the oppressed. Throughout the Bible, there are many people who migrate, including Jesus and his family. There's a running theme through the Bible of God expressing care for the poor, the vulnerable, the stranger, the immigrant, and the least of these. And I'll share just a few of the many, many Bible verses that clearly tell us to welcome immigrants. Exodus 23, verse 9, you shall not oppress a foreigner. You know how it feels to be foreigners because you were foreigners in Egypt. Leviticus 19, 33 and 34, when a foreigner resides among you in your land, do not mistreat him. The foreigner residing among you must be treated as your native born, and you shall love him as yourself. For you are strangers in the land of Egypt. I am the Lord your God. Deuteronomy 27:19. Cursed is anyone who withholds justice from the foreigner, the fatherless, or the widow. Psalm 146:9. The Lord watches over the foreigner and sustains the orphan and the widow, but the way of the wicked he brings to ruin. Matthew 5:43 and 44. You have heard that it was said, you shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy, but I say to you, love your enemy and pray for those who persecute you. Matthew 25:35. I was hungry and you gave me food. I was thirsty and you gave me drink. I was a stranger and you welcomed me. Matthew 25:40. Truly I tell you, whatever you did to one of the least of these, my brothers and sisters of mine, you did to me. Hebrews 13:2. Do not forget to show hospitality to strangers, for by doing so, some have shown hospitality to angels without knowing it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Good evening, Amber. Welcome.
Good evening. It's Bruno. I've been here a few times. I'm going to go off script for a second, which I may regret. But I will say, I will speak directly to you, Tony. I kind of knew that was, your supporting of ICE was probably a given. I was actually shocked that you came out and said that at the end of the last council meeting. And sitting here today, watching everybody talk with passion about what's happening, I don't know what is going through the city council's mind, but there seems to be, maybe it's just me projecting, but confusion, bemusement about people being passionate about what they're talking about. The political diversity, polarization in this country is beyond disturbing. As you can tell, I have an accent. I'm clearly not from here. Can't hide it, though luckily for me, I have a white skin. I am fearful of being in this country at this point in time because of everything that's going on. And I also feel that I need to let you know I am here legally. I have papers. I have my passport. I'm a dual citizen. I shouldn't have to clarify that in this city. I've been in this city for many years, decades, and yet I feel it necessary because I am in fear for being here, and I'm white. Those people that are not white, I can only imagine the fear that they have. I only reveal the fact that I'm an immigrant when I open my mouth. So I'll go back to my script. What I came here to say is that I wanted to say how beyond sad, that's so much of an understatement, I think it is that the current council, perhaps a few council members more so than others, seem to have no compassion, in fact quite the opposite, for people that don't agree with them. In the country as a whole, it seems we have forgotten basic human compassion and care. And it's again beyond sad to see this is reflected in our current city council. I wonder, and I would encourage city council members to reflect on the fact that it is their duty to respect and represent the entirety of this city. That includes black, it includes brown, it includes immigrants, it includes whites. It includes everybody. And your response to people when they come here is absolutely shocking on many levels. You talk about being supportive of minorities when you give various city awards to people, but your comments about proudly welcoming ICE to our city says otherwise. Being actively inclusive of others and searching out diverse opinions from, let's say, perhaps women, people of colour, minorities, dare I say immigrants. You know, many of those people that you actually give awards to at these meetings, they fit those categories. Yeah. Actively searching out those conversations should be par for the course. It's been shown to increase success across the board in industry and in corporations, and I can only imagine it does the same in city leadership. And I have one more paragraph, which I'll finish. I think in the past, council members received votes because city residents felt like it seems like the city's going okay, so why pay deeper attention? What does it matter? If it's not broke, don't fix it. Well, I can assure you that right now, standing here, I see a lot of things that are broke. That was certainly my case a couple of years ago. It's not broke, so don't fix it.
Thank you for your comments.
I'm not done.
Your time is up.
But now I'm paying attention, and the attitude of the city council members matters. The attitude and the level of respect paid to all citizens regardless of colour, gender, orientation or political affiliation, and so many things matter. As I've said in many council meetings before now, I'll ask that the council consider how citizens can be more involved in at least the agenda so that you can be curious about other people's conversations. Thank you.
Next up is Good evening, Nicole. Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, City Council members. I really don't have much to add. I am here also in response to your support and opposition of, or your support for ICE, that I am in opposition of that. And first, I really want to address everyone in this room who has spoken up. Can I tell you how proud I am, how it just makes me feel, because there are people who are standing up for humanity. There are people who are standing up for those that don't have the privilege to speak out right now against what is happening, and it does matter. And keep doing it. And to the city council members and mayor, I'm here as a mother, as a parent, and I don't know how many of you are parents, but I would like to play a video for you of a mother who was taken by ICE, and I implore you to please listen. And if you heard her screaming, she says, "I am here legally." And I can't even keep my composure listening to that. It utterly guts me. I think about my son and what it would feel like to be separated. And that is what is happening in our country right now. Parents are being separated from their children. There are pictures of children in detention centers who can't go to school. There was a statement put out by the American Academy of Pediatrics today who talked about the level of trauma we are inflicting on children. Children! What did they do to deserve this? So I implore you, this is not about being Democrat or Republican. And Mayor Beal, you may be sitting there with a smug face. I don't even know if any of this is getting to you. I implore your humanity. When in our country did we not support human rights? This is not about illegal immigration. And if you still think it is, I implore you to think about your conscience. And I think my friend who so eloquently spoke to the Bible verses and to those that, may be of faith. Because as a Christian myself, this is not something that I can support. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. Welcome.
Yeah, I don't feel welcome either.
I too hope Tony will wipe that smug smile off his face. Not a smile, a smirk. Because I'm going to read some really sad stuff. I'm going to tell you about 10 deaths related to immigration enforcement officers or their actions between December 11th of last year and January 24th of this year. Isaiah Sanchez Barboza, age 31, died December 11th, 25, in Starr County, Texas. He was killed after being shot by a Border Patrol agent during an encounter along the U.S.-Mexico border. Keith Porter, age 43, died December 31st in Northridge, California. He was a U.S. citizen, killed in a shooting involving an off-duty ICE officer. Now, just this year, the rest of the 8 people, Geraldo Lunas Campos, age 50, died January 3rd in El Paso, Texas, during a physical restraint by detention officers. Luis Gustavo Nunez Caceres, age 42, died January 5th this year in Conroe, Texas. He died in ICE custody after a serious heart condition. Luis Beltran Yanez Cruz, age 69, died January 6th this year, Indio, California, after medical distress while in ICE custody. And you still have that damn smirk on your face, and it really is pissing us off.
Yep, that's why he does it.
You have no conscience, no morality.
No.
None.
Renee Nicole Good, the white woman, age 37, died January 7th this year, Minneapolis. U.S. citizen, legal observer who was shot and killed during an immigration enforcement operation. Parity Law, age 46, died January 9th this year, Philadelphia, after being found unresponsive in ICE custody. The family is disputing the official account of his death, and I believe someone already spoke to this, that the witnesses were disappeared after this happened. Iber Sanchez Dominguez, age 34, died January 14th this year, Lovejoy, Georgia, found dead in ICE custody. Victor Manuel Diaz, age 36, died January 14th this year in El Paso, found dead in immigration detention with family disputing the official account. And last but not least, Alex Preddy, age 37, died January 24th in Minneapolis, another U.S. citizen shot and killed while helping someone who was knocked to the ground during a federal immigration operation. I would like to offer a minute of silence for these and all the people who have been killed, murdered, and disappeared.
Thank you for your comments. Your time has expired. Next up is Jacqueline Martin.
This is all on tape, sir.
You're full of it, sir.
Doesn't like those moments of silence.
Jacqueline Martin.
Wow.
Shame.
So disrespectful.
Grace.
Yep.
That's 30 seconds. And that's smirk.
Your time has expired. Jacqueline, you're up.
I hope you realize that the right side of history is one that never violates human rights.
Thank you
and
for your...
our president, not my president, our president is a criminal,
yes,
not the immigrants.
I'm back up here because I felt compelled to address something else that you said at the last meeting, something possibly even more concerning than your comments about ICE, if that's possible. You said that it's up to us, the citizens, to protest safely, to ensure we are not causing conflict with law enforcement, to keep everyone safe. And you, sir, have it backwards. I sincerely hope our law enforcement officers do not follow the example of ICE agents across this country as they precipitate incidents so that they can manufacture an excuse to shoot people.
Yep.
Multiple U.S. citizens have been shot by ICE agents over the past few months. 3 civilians, at least 3, possibly more, are dead, and others have been wounded, and countless people have been assaulted, both physically and with chemical weapons. But it is instructive to everyone here, and anyone listening to this, that you would find a way to excuse them if that happened here. The residents of this city did come out, and we exercised our First Amendment right to gather, voice our concerns, and to protest. We gathered in front of this building.
We expressed our grief, we were in community together, and we did protest, among other things, your assertion that it is the duty of untrained civilians to keep everyone safe. Our law enforcement officers are paid professionals. They are supported with more than half of our city budget. They are supposed to be trained in de-escalation tactics. They are supposed to uphold the Constitution and respect and defend our civil rights. And if you don't know that, Mayor Beal, you don't deserve to be sitting in that chair.
That's
right.
And to the rest of you, if you do not speak up, your silence speaks for you.
Yes, it does.
Unless you repudiate his statements, and yes, that incredibly offensive facial expression, then we know where each of you stands as well. You stand against this diverse community you claim to represent.
Thank you for that. Next up is, I apologize, I'm having trouble with the last name, Andrew Babzaki?
Brzaki.
Thank you. Good evening, Andrew, welcome.
Is this new? Everyone else here has already said it better than I will, but it really boggles the mind that you can say that the city is voted safest and be proud of that and yet also support ICE in the same breath. Councilman Holloway, there should be a slam dunk. We don't need these untrained, unqualified wannabe stormtroopers coming in, kidnapping children, deploying tear gas at preschools, using those children as bait to lure other people out so that they can kidnap them as well. We don't need that in RSM. I don't want that in RSM. I don't need ICE in RSM. And if you continue to support ICE, then I don't want you in RSM either.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time. Next up, Leanne Boyd.
I'm just clarifying that everybody's going to get to speak. All comment cards. Is everyone's going to get to speak? Okay. I was going to pick first.
We're happy to hear from everyone, Brady.
I don't know. I don't know if you know what your face looks like. And I don't mean that. I really don't mean that to be like funny or flippant, but it's honestly absurd because it's like so distasteful and a bit psychotic, and I just don't know if you're aware. So I'm gonna maybe give you a bit of pause on that maybe you just don't know what your face looks like. So watch the videos on YouTube because I think it would be a good lesson. Before I get into my main comments, I also want to mention that Mission Viejo City Council, did they just vote in term limits? Right?
No, they've had it for a long time.
Oh, Lake Forest, okay. So we have a local city that voted in term limits, which I think is just something to note. And I also want to mention that I am also a white citizen, and I don't know how the other white citizens sitting on this council can't be moved or are not moved by what people are saying, and the audio of that mom screaming for her child that I can't even speak about was feeling emotional. Not a single one of you reacted. It's so inhuman. You have to understand this is why people are so upset at all of you, because the things that you're saying and not saying are so inhumane. So with that in mind, I just want to remind everyone in town and those listening at home how long these council members have been controlling our city and your money. They already had a hold on the city when they redistricted for voting purposes. They drew lines across a map that allowed them to remain in their seats, and they even divided a small neighborhood so 2 council members that live right near each other could keep those seats. So, let's talk about them. Tony Beal has been on the council since 2004, but his influence began even earlier on the Planning Commission. He served as mayor 6 times. Brad McGurr has been on the council since 2012, again with prior service on the Planning Commission, and he's been mayor twice. Ann Figueroa joined the council in 2018 after 3 years on the Planning Commission, and she too has held the mayor's seat. Jerry Holloway, he's been on the council since 2002 and served as mayor 4 times. And Carrie Lynn Baird, who's our newest member, is only here because the redistricted maps finally allowed the door to be open
so that people could vote in someone else that wasn't a part of this group. So cabal is a better word. Idiotic group, I was gonna say, but I was trying to be nice. Okay, so with this new map, the mayor is elected citywide and appoints 5 planning commissioners of new power that they've unlocked in this game. And that means those commissioners can move into these seats, as you've seen. So I'm asking again for term limits, and if you won't do it, the next election is 2026 and we can change it. Now, did you see how many people were here tonight because they disagreed with stuff that you're saying? And your racism? And your silence? Did you see that? All those people can vote.
Yes. You're It's Spizaki. I know it's ethnic, so it's difficult.
Good evening, Mary Beth, welcome.
So, Carrie Lynn, Ann, Jerry, Brad, Tony, thank you so much for giving me some time. Everyone else has said wonderful things. I'm not quite sure if you were listening. You welcome ICE, which is great. I thought I'd give you a little preview of what it would be like. This is my passport. I had to show my birth certificate to get it. I actually had to show my marriage license too. I carry it with me all the time because, might want to pop down to Tijuana just for funsies. Where are y'all's? I got 3 minutes, I'll wait. Passport, birth certificate. Where is it? No, I'm serious, where is it? This is the audience, this is the participation part of the comment. Where are your papers? Where are your papers? Show them. Or you're gonna go to jail. Where are your papers?
I carry mine.
Where are your papers? Come on, show them to me. I'm not kidding around.
Yeah, prove you're legal.
Prove you're legal.
You're legal.
Prove you are a U.S. citizen right now. Right now. Do it. Or can you not? Do you not have a passport on you all the time? Do you not have your birth certificates on you? Okay.
Wow.
Bold. Thank you.
Thank you. You should have put that in for speaker request cards. Okay, so that concludes public comments tonight. We're going to move on with our agenda. Item number 10 is city manager's report. The city manager.